Captain Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the main console. The life support system had been acting up for 3 days, making strange noises and giving off weird smells. He grabbed a roll of duct tape from his toolkit and wrapped it around a loose connection. That should hold it, he said to himself, giving the silver tape a pat. The machine stopped making noise. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her research station. "Did you just fix our air recycler with tape?" "Tape fixes everything," Jake replied with a grin. "My dad always said that. You can fix a car, a house, or even a spaceship with enough tape." Lisa shook her head but smiled. She had seen Jake fix dozens of problems this way during their 6-month journey to Alpha Centauri. The ship's computer said many of his repairs were impossible, but they worked anyway. "Commander," Pete Davis walked onto the bridge carrying his morning coffee. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings on the sensors. Looks like there's a ship out there." Jake stood up and brushed the dust off his uniform. "How big?" "About twice our size. Different design. Definitely not human." The 3 humans looked at each other. They all knew what this meant. After decades of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they were about to find out. "Open a channel," Jake ordered. "Let's say hello." The main screen flickered to life, showing a creature that looked nothing like a human. It had blue-green skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated its words into English. "Unknown vessel, this is Ambassador Zexathera of the Galactic Collective. You have entered our space. State your purpose." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship New Horizon. We're explorers from the planet Earth. We come in peace." The alien's eyes grew even larger. "Earth? We have no record of this world. What system are you from?" "The Sol system. We call our star the Sun. We're the 3rd planet from it." Zexathera made some notes on a device. "Describe your world." Dr. Grant joined Jake in front of the screen. "Earth is a beautiful planet. We have vast oceans, high mountains, and many different climates. The weather can be pretty wild sometimes. We get storms with winds over 200 miles per hour and the ground shakes during earthquakes." The alien stopped writing and stared at them. "Your world has regular seismic activity and atmospheric disturbances of that magnitude?" "Oh, sure," Lisa continued cheerfully. "We also have volcanoes that throw melted rock into the air, and some areas get so cold that water turns solid for months at a time. But humans adapt pretty well." Zexathera's hands were shaking slightly. "And you live on this world?" Pete laughed. "Live on it? We love it. I go skiing every winter when the snow falls. Jake here surfs in the ocean during storms because the waves are bigger." "You deliberately expose yourselves to these dangerous conditions?" the alien asked. "It's fun," Jake said. "Humans like challenges. My brother climbs mountains just to see the view from the top. My sister jumps out of perfectly good airplanes with just a cloth parachute." The alien was now typing furiously on his device. "What do you consume for nutrition?" Lisa tilted her head. "We eat all kinds of things. Plants, fruits, meat from animals, fish from the oceans. We're what you call omnivores." "You hunt and consume other living creatures?" "Well, most of us buy our food from stores now," Pete explained. "But humans used to hunt animals for survival. We still do it sometimes for sport or food. My grandfather taught me how to track deer through the forest." Zexathera was now visibly disturbed. "You track prey through terrain?" "Humans are pretty good at it," Jake said proudly. "We can follow tracks, scents, and sounds. We can run for hours without stopping if we need to. Our ancestors used to chase animals until they got too tired to run anymore." "Persistence predation," the alien whispered. "I guess you could call it that," Pete agreed. "Humans don't give up easily. If we want something, we keep trying until we get it." At that moment, the life support system made another strange noise. Jake casually reached over and hit it with his hand. The noise stopped. "Did you just strike your life support system?" Zexathera asked in horror. "Sometimes machines need a little encouragement," Jake said. "Percussive maintenance, we call it. Works most of the time." Dr. Grant noticed the alien's distress. "Are you feeling all right? You look worried." "I am processing this information." Zexathara replied carefully. Tell me, what animals share your world? Oh, lots of them, Lisa said excitedly. We have big cats that hunt in groups, bears that can weigh 800 pounds, sharks with rows of sharp teeth, and snakes with poison that can kill you in minutes. And these creatures attack humans? Sometimes, Pete said casually. But humans are pretty smart. We figured out how to avoid most of them. Some people even keep smaller versions as pets. Pets? You know, friendly animals that live with us. I have a dog at home. It's related to wolves, but it's been living with humans for thousands of years. Great companions. Jake nodded. My neighbor has a cat. They're descended from wild hunters, but now they just sleep in the sun and chase toy mice. Zexathara was now breathing heavily. You domesticated apex predators? I wouldn't call them apex predators, Lisa laughed. The real dangerous animals are mostly extinct now. Humans had to compete with some pretty scary creatures when we were developing. Saber-toothed tigers, giant bears, massive reptiles. But we outlasted them all. You outlasted them? Sure. Humans are survivors, Jake said matter-of-factly. We've been through ice ages, volcanic winters, plagues, wars, and all kinds of disasters, but we're still here. Pete checked his watch. Speaking of surviving, I should mention that our ship here isn't even our best technology. This is just our first attempt at interstellar travel. We built it in about 10 years once we figured out the quantum drive. 10 years? Zexathara gasped. Pretty fast, right? Humans are good at solving problems quickly when we need to. The alien's image flickered as he seemed to be having trouble with his equipment. I need to report this contact to my superiors. Please remain in your current position. The screen went dark. Lisa looked at Jake and Pete. That went, well, don't you think? Seemed friendly enough, Jake agreed. Maybe a little nervous about meeting new people. Probably just excited, Pete added. First contact is a big deal. None of them noticed that on the alien ship, Ambassador Zexathara was sending an urgent, encrypted message to the Galactic Collective, headquarters. His hands shook as he typed, Emergency Protocol 7, New Species Encountered. Designation, Extreme Threat Level. They call themselves humans. They are not just dangerous. They do not even realize how dangerous they are. Admiral Susan Clark adjusted her uniform as she walked through the massive halls of the Galactic Collective's central station. The place was huge, with ceilings so high she could barely see them. Aliens of different shapes and sizes moved around, but they all seemed to stop and stare when they saw her. They're really curious about us, she said to Dr. Alex Turner, who was carrying a large bag of presentation materials. Can't blame them, Alex replied. We're probably the first new species. They've met in a long time. They entered a large room where hundreds of alien representatives sat in curved rows. At the front, High Counselor Vorthak stood behind a podium. He was tall and thin with purple skin and looked nervous. Welcome, humans of Earth, Vorthak said. We are honored to learn about your species and your world. Admiral Clark stepped forward. Thank you for having us. We're excited to share information about Earth and humanity. Dr. Turner set up his equipment and smiled at the audience. I'm going to tell you about our beautiful planet and the amazing life that lives there. The first image appeared on the large screen. It showed a sunny beach with blue water and white sand. This is what we call a nice day on Earth, Alex said. The temperature here is about 80 degrees with light winds of only 30 miles per hour. Several aliens in the front row gasped. One of them, Science Officer Melandra, raised her hand. Did you say 30 miles per hour winds on a calm day? Oh yes, Alex nodded. That's nothing unusual. When we have real storms, the winds can reach 300 miles per hour. We call those hurricanes. People who live in those areas just board up their windows and wait for them to pass. The room became very quiet. Melandra was writing notes. Very quickly, Alex clicked to the next picture. It showed a mountain with snow on top. This is Mount Everest, our tallest mountain. It's about 29,000 feet high. Humans climb it for fun. For fun? Vorthak asked weakly. Sure, it's a challenge. The air is so thin up there that you need special equipment to breathe, and the temperature is about 60 degrees below zero. But hundreds of humans climb it every year. The next image showed a volcano erupting, throwing red-hot lava into the air. "This is a volcano," Alex explained cheerfully. "We have about 1,500 active ones on Earth. They throw melted rock, ash, and poisonous gases into the air. Some people actually live near them because the soil is really good for growing food." An alien in the back row fainted and had to be carried out. Alex continued his presentation, showing pictures of earthquakes, tsunamis, and tornadoes. Each image made the alien audience more uncomfortable. "Now let me show you some of Earth's wildlife," Alex said, clicking to a picture of a great white shark. "This is a shark. It has rows of sharp teeth and can bite with the force of 18,000 pounds per square inch. Humans swim in the same water with them." "Do they attack humans?" Melandra asked, her voice shaking. "Sometimes, but not often. Humans are pretty good at avoiding them. Some humans even swim with them on purpose to study them." The next picture showed a lion. "This is a lion. It can run 35 miles per hour and has claws that can cut through flesh easily. Humans used to hunt them with just spears and arrows." Admiral Clark noticed that many aliens were looking sick. "Are you all feeling okay? Should we take a break?" "Please continue," Vorthak said, though he looked pale. Alex showed more pictures: bears, tigers, poisonous snakes, crocodiles, and spiders. Each one made the aliens more nervous. "The interesting thing is," Alex said, "most of these animals are actually afraid of humans. We're not the biggest or strongest creatures on Earth, but we're the smartest. We learned how to use tools, fire, and teamwork to survive." "What happened to the creatures that were not afraid of humans?" asked an alien with 6 arms. Alex thought for a moment. "Well, most of them are extinct now. Humans had to compete with some really dangerous animals when we were developing. Giant bears, saber-toothed cats, massive reptiles. But humans are really good at adapting and surviving." Admiral Clark stepped forward. "Humans have survived a lot of challenges throughout our history. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun, diseases that killed millions of people. But we always found ways to keep going." "You've survived multiple extinction events?" Vorthak asked in horror. "Several," Clark nodded. "About 75,000 years ago, a huge volcano nearly wiped out all humans. The population dropped to maybe 10,000 people, but we survived and spread across the entire planet." Dr. Turner added, "Humans are really good at working together when things get tough. We share knowledge, help each other, and find creative solutions to problems." "Speaking of creative solutions," Admiral Clark said, "let me tell you about some of human history. When we needed to travel across oceans, we built ships. When we wanted to fly, we invented airplanes. When we wanted to split the atom, we figured out how to do that too." The aliens looked confused. "Split the atom?" "Oh yes," Clark continued casually. "We learned how to release the energy inside atoms. We use it for power now, but we also made weapons with it. Really powerful weapons that can destroy entire cities." The room was completely silent now. "But don't worry," Clark added quickly. "We only used those weapons twice, and that was during a war many years ago. We realized they were too dangerous and made agreements not to use them anymore." Melandra raised her hand with a shaking arm. You created weapons that can destroy cities, and then you chose not to use them." "That's right," Clark said proudly. "Humans learned from their mistakes. We're actually a very peaceful species now. We haven't had a major war in decades." An alien near the back stood up. "What do you consider a major war?" Clark thought about it. "Well, I guess a conflict that involves more than a few million people and lasts longer than a few years." Half the aliens in the room started talking at once, their voices rising in panic. Dr. Turner looked confused. "Did I say something wrong?" Vorthak stood up, his legs shaking. I think we need to take a break. We have much to discuss." As the aliens filed out of the room, many of them looked back at the humans with expressions of fear and amazement. Admiral Clark turned to Dr. Turner. "That seemed to go well. They were really interested in learning about Earth." "Maybe a little too interested," Alex replied, watching as several aliens ran toward the exit. "They seemed pretty excited about our presentation." Neither of them noticed the emergency meeting that began immediately after they left, where alien leaders discussed What they had just learned about the species they now called the Death World survivors. In the meeting room, Vorthak addressed the terrified assembly. They survived ice ages, volcanic winters, and near-extinction events. They domesticated predators and turned them into companions. They created weapons that can destroy cities, then chose not to use them. And they think their world is normal. Science Officer Mel Andra stood up, her voice barely a whisper. They're not just from a death world. They're from the Death World, the kind of planet that creates apex survivors. And they don't even realize how dangerous they are, Vorthak added. They think they're peaceful. The room erupted in frightened discussions about what to do about the humans who had no idea they had just terrified an entire galactic civilization. Ambassador Ben Rodriguez stood in the middle of a large field on the planet Kepler 442b. The Galactic Collective had chosen this neutral world for their cultural festival, hoping to understand humans better. Colorful tents and stages were set up everywhere, with aliens from dozens of different species walking around. "This is exciting," said Dr. Amy Johnson, adjusting her camera to record everything. "Our first real cultural exchange with alien species." Captain Roy Mitchell looked around carefully, noting the exits and watching the crowd. "Stay alert. We're representing all of humanity here." Ben smiled and waved at a group of aliens who were staring at them. "Everyone seems friendly enough. Let's show them what human culture is all about." The first event was sports demonstrations. Ben had brought equipment for several human games. He set up a soccer ball and called some alien volunteers. "This is called soccer," Ben explained to the gathered crowd. "Two teams try to get the ball into the other team's goal. You can use any part of your body except your hands." He kicked the ball to Dr. Johnson, who kicked it back. Soon they were running around, chasing the ball and trying to score goals. The aliens watched in silence. Finally, one of them, a creature with tentacles instead of arms, spoke up. "This appears to be combat training." Ben stopped running and laughed. "Combat training? No, it's just for fun. Humans play games like this to stay in shape and have a good time." "You are practicing coordinated movement, territorial control, and objective-based tactics," the alien observed. Dr. Johnson wiped sweat from her face. "I guess you could look at it that way, but really it's just a game. Children play it in schools." "You train your young in these tactics?" asked another alien, this one with large eyes and green skin. "Well, we teach them sports, yes," Ben said, confused by their serious tone. Captain Mitchell demonstrated boxing next, hitting a punching bag he had brought. The sound of his fists hitting the bag made several aliens step backward. "This is boxing," Mitchell explained. "It's a sport where two people fight with rules. They wear special gloves and try not to really hurt each other." The aliens looked horrified. "You engage in ritual combat for entertainment?" "It's not really combat," Mitchell said. "There are strict rules. Referees make sure no one gets seriously hurt." "But the objective is to render your opponent unconscious?" asked a tall alien with blue fur. "Well, sometimes, but most fights end with points, not knockouts." Dr. Johnson set up her presentation about human art and literature. She showed paintings, sculptures, and read from famous books. "This is one of our most famous stories," she said, opening a book. "It's called The Odyssey. It's about a warrior named Odysseus who faces monsters, gods, and impossible challenges to get home to his family." She read a passage about Odysseus fighting a giant one-eyed monster called a Cyclops. The aliens listened with growing alarm. "Your stories are about defeating creatures larger and more powerful than yourselves?" "Yes, humans love stories about overcoming challenges," Amy said proudly. "We have thousands of stories about heroes who fight dragons, survive disasters, and defeat impossible enemies." "Dragons?" asked an alien with scales. "Mythical creatures, giant flying reptiles that breathe fire. In our stories, brave humans fight them with swords and courage." Ben showed some human movies on a portable screen. He chose what he thought were mild adventure films, but the aliens watched in horror as humans battled robots, survived explosions, and fought aliens. "These are your historical records?" asked one alien. "No, these are just movies. Stories we make for entertainment," Ben explained. You create fictional scenarios of combat and survival for amusement? Sure, humans love action movies. The more exciting, the better. Dr. Johnson showed them human music and dancing. She played rock music and demonstrated some dance moves. The loud music and energetic dancing made many aliens cover their ears, or whatever they use for hearing. This is how humans express joy and celebration, she said, spinning around to the beat. The sounds are very aggressive, observed an alien with 4 arms, and your movements suggest preparation for physical conflict. Amy stopped dancing. It's just music and dancing. How could that be aggressive? Captain Mitchell noticed some alien children watching from behind their parents. Hey kids, want to see some fun games? He pulled out a jump rope and started jumping. Then he showed them tag, where one person chases the others and tries to touch them. The alien parents immediately pulled their children away from Mitchell. We're just playing, Mitchell said, confused. One of the alien parents spoke in a shaking voice. You demonstrated pursuit and capture techniques to our offspring. It's just tag. It's harmless. Dr. Johnson tried to lighten the mood by showing human art. She displayed paintings of battles, storms, and dramatic scenes. This painting shows the Battle of Gettysburg from our Civil War, she explained. And this one shows a ship in a terrible storm at sea. Why do you create images of violence and disaster? Asked an alien artist. These are important moments in our history. Art helps us remember and learn from the past. You preserve memories of conflict and catastrophe? Amy was getting frustrated. Not just conflict. We have beautiful art too. Look at this painting of flowers or this peaceful landscape, but the aliens were more interested in a painting that showed a mountain climber hanging from a cliff. This human is in mortal danger, one of them said. That's mountain climbing. It's a sport. People do it for fun and challenge. The aliens exchanged worried looks. Ben tried one more demonstration. He brought out some board games and card games. These are games humans play to relax, he said, setting up a chessboard. He explained how chess worked, with different pieces representing soldiers, castles, and royalty in battle. So this is a war simulation, concluded an alien observer. Well, sort of, but it's abstract. It's about strategy and thinking. You train your minds for warfare during leisure time? Ben was starting to understand that everything humans did was being misinterpreted. Look, we're not a violent species. These are just games and stories. Humans are actually very peaceful. Peaceful? Asked the alien with tentacles. Your sports involve physical contact. Your stories celebrate conflict. Your music is loud and aggressive. Your games simulate warfare, and your art preserves images of battle. Dr. Johnson tried to explain. Those things don't make us violent. They're just part of human culture. We channel our competitive nature into harmless activities. Competitive nature? Several aliens said at once. Captain Mitchell realized they were making things worse. Maybe we should take a break. As the humans packed up their demonstrations, the aliens gathered in small groups, whispering urgently among themselves. Did you see how they moved during their games? One alien said to another. Perfect tactical awareness. And their cultural preservation focuses on conflict scenarios. They study warfare even during peacetime. Most disturbing is how they train their young in these activities from childhood. Ben, Amy, and Roy walked back to their ship, confused by the aliens' strange reactions. I thought that went pretty well, Ben said. They seemed really interested in everything we showed them. Maybe too interested, Roy replied, noticing how the aliens watched them leave. They were asking a lot of questions about our combat training. Dr. Johnson shook her head. I think there might be some cultural misunderstandings happening here. None of them saw the emergency messages being sent across the galaxy that night, warning alien worlds about the species that turned warfare into entertainment, trained their children in tactical movement, and preserved detailed records of every conflict they had ever survived. In the Alien Council chambers, representatives from a dozen species voted unanimously to request protective barriers around their home systems. The humans, they concluded, were not just dangerous. They were so naturally militaristic that they had turned combat preparation into recreational activities without even realizing it. General Chris Adams sat in his office on Earth, looking at reports from space. The messages from their diplomats in alien territory were getting stranger by the day. Aliens were avoiding humans, asking weird questions, and acting scared for no reason he could understand, sir, said his assistant, walking into the room. The Galactic Collective is requesting detailed information about our military capabilities. Chris frowned. That's odd. Why would they want to know about our defenses? I thought we were just making friends. Dr. Rachel Brooks knocked on his door and entered. She was a psychologist who had been studying the alien reports to help improve human-alien relations. General, I think we have a serious problem, she said, sitting down across from his desk. The aliens think we're planning to attack them. Attack them? That's crazy. We've been nothing but friendly. Rachel opened her laptop and showed him several alien communications they had intercepted. Look at this. They're calling us aggressive, expansionists and disguised conquerors. Chris read the messages, shaking his head. I don't understand. All we've done is share information about Earth and human culture. That's exactly the problem, Rachel explained. Everything we think is normal, they think is threatening. Meanwhile, on a space station near Jupiter, engineer Tony Walsh was working with a team of alien scientists. They had invited him to help improve their power systems, and Tony was happy to help. Your energy converter is pretty good, Tony said, looking at their equipment. But you could probably double the output if you changed a few things. The alien chief scientist, a creature with purple skin and 6 eyes, stared at him. Double the output? That's impossible? Not really, Tony replied, pulling out a piece of paper. He drew a simple diagram. See, if you redirect the plasma flow through this channel here and add a secondary cooling system, you'll get way more power. The alien scientists gathered around the paper, their eyes growing wide. This modification would increase energy production by 200%, asked one of them. At least, Tony said. Maybe more if you fine-tune it. This is pretty basic engineering stuff. The aliens looked at each other with expressions of fear and amazement. You consider this basic? The chief scientist whispered. Sure. Any human engineer could figure this out. We've been using similar principles for decades. Back on Earth, General Adams was conducting routine military exercises with his troops. They were practicing rescue operations, defensive maneuvers, and emergency response procedures. What he didn't know was that alien spy satellites were watching everything. In the Galactic Collective's Intelligence Center, Admiral Kethmore studied the footage of human military training. Look at their coordination, he said to his staff. Perfect formation flying, precise timing, and complex tactical movements executed flawlessly. Sir, said one of his officers, their soldiers moved through that obstacle course in record time, and they did it while carrying heavy equipment. The most disturbing part, Admiral Kethmore continued, is that they call this basic training. If this is basic, what do their advanced forces look like? On the space station, Tony Walsh continued to help the alien scientists, completely unaware of their growing alarm. You know, Tony said, examining another piece of their equipment. Your communication system could use some work too. You're only getting about 10% efficiency on your signal transmission. 10%? Gasped an alien technician. Yeah, it's pretty inefficient. Look, if you adjust the frequency modulation and add some signal boosters, you could communicate across much greater distances with better clarity. Tony spent the next hour showing them improvements that would revolutionize their entire communication network. Each suggestion made the aliens more nervous. How long would it take your people to implement these changes across your entire civilization? Asked the chief scientist. Tony shrugged. A few months, maybe a year if we wanted to be really careful about it. Humans are pretty good at large-scale projects when we put our minds to it. Back on Earth, Dr. Rachel Brooks was giving a presentation to other human psychologists about alien behavior patterns. She didn't realize that her research was being monitored by alien intelligence services. The key to understanding alien psychology, Rachel explained to her audience, is recognizing their fear responses and social hierarchies. Most species seem to have clear, dominant, and submissive behaviors. She showed charts and graphs analyzing different alien species' psychological profiles. For example, The Zephyrians respond well to displays of strength, while the Aquarians prefer indirect communication. By understanding these patterns, we can predict their reactions and adjust our approach accordingly. The alien intelligence, officers watching her presentation were horrified. To them, it looked like humans were studying alien psychology to find weaknesses they could exploit. She has detailed psychological profiles of dozens of species, reported one alien spy to his commander. They know exactly how to manipulate us. General Adams received an urgent message from the Galactic Collective requesting a meeting. When he arrived at the designated location, he found himself facing Admiral Kethmore and several other high-ranking alien military officers. "General Adams," Admiral Kethmore said, his voice shaking slightly. "We need to discuss your military activities." "What activities?" Chris asked, genuinely confused. "Our observations show massive troop movements, advanced training exercises, and weapons testing." Chris laughed. "Weapons testing? We haven't tested any weapons. We've just been doing normal training exercises." "Normal?" Admiral Kethmore's eyes widened. "Your soldiers completed a 50-mile march carrying full equipment in under 8 hours. That's standard for our Marines," Chris replied proudly. "They train hard to stay in good shape. And your aircraft performed maneuvers that our experts deemed impossible." "Our pilots are well trained," Chris said, still not understanding the problem. "We believe in maintaining high standards." Admiral Kethmore showed him footage of the training exercises. This level of military precision suggests years of preparation for large-scale conflict. Chris watched the video, seeing nothing unusual. "This is just routine training. We do this stuff all the time to stay ready for emergencies." "What kind of emergencies require this level of military readiness?" "Natural disasters, rescue operations, protecting civilians, the usual stuff." The alien officers exchanged alarmed glances. To them, protecting civilians sounded like preparation for occupation and control of populations. Meanwhile, Tony Walsh was finishing his work with the alien scientists. He had helped them improve 5 different systems and suggested upgrades to their entire infrastructure. "Thanks for letting me work with you guys," Tony said, packing up his tools. "This was fun. If you ever need more help, just ask. Humans love solving engineering problems." After Tony left, the alien scientists held an emergency meeting. "In 3 days, he revolutionized centuries of our technological development," said the chief scientist, "and he acted like it was simple. Child's play," added another. "If one human engineer can do this so easily, imagine what their entire civilization is capable of." Dr. Rachel Brooks published her research paper on alien psychology, thinking it would help improve interspecies relations. Instead, it convinced alien leaders that humans had been studying them like laboratory specimens, preparing for conquest. General Adams continued his routine military operations, unaware that every exercise was being interpreted as preparation for galactic warfare. Tony Walsh returned to Earth, happy that he had made some new alien friends and helped them with their technology problems. None of the humans realized that their innocent actions had convinced the Galactic Collective that humanity was not just dangerous, but actively preparing for war. In secret meetings across the galaxy, alien leaders discussed what they saw as humanity's 3-pronged approach to conquest: psychological warfare through cultural analysis, technological superiority through advanced engineering, and military dominance through superior training and coordination. "They're not just a threat," Admiral Kethmore told the Emergency Council session. "They're the most sophisticated threat we've ever encountered. They study our weaknesses, surpass our technology, and maintain military forces that exceed our best capabilities. And the most terrifying part," added the chief scientist from the space station, "is that they do all of this while appearing friendly and helpful. They're either the most deceptive species in the galaxy, or they're so naturally superior that they don't even realize how threatening they are." The Galactic Collective began mobilizing their combined fleets, preparing for what they believed was an inevitable human invasion. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans continued their normal lives, completely unaware that their everyday activities had nearly started an interstellar war. President Karen Phillips stood at the window of her office looking at reports that made no sense. Ambassador Danny Cooper sat across from her desk, holding a pile of urgent messages from human diplomats across the galaxy. "Karen, we have a serious problem," Danny said. "Every alien species is pulling back from contact with us. Some are asking for military protection from their own governments." "Protection from us?" Karen asked, turning around. "We haven't done anything threatening." "That's what I thought too, but look at this." Danny handed her a decoded alien transmission. "They think we're planning to invade the entire galaxy." Karen read the message, shaking her head. "This is insane. Where would they get an idea like that?" Dr. Steve Parker knocked on the door and entered. He was a scientist who studied human evolution and had been called in to help solve the diplomatic crisis. "Madam President," Steve said, "I think I understand what's happening. The aliens aren't wrong to be afraid. They're just afraid for the wrong reasons." Karen gestured for him to sit down. "Explain." Steve opened his laptop and showed them pictures of Earth. "To us, Earth is home. It's normal. But to aliens from other worlds, Earth is what they call a Class X death world. The most dangerous type of planet in the galaxy." "Dangerous?" Danny asked. "How is Earth dangerous?" "Think about it," Steve continued. "We have storms that can destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that throw melted rock into the air, and temperature changes that can kill most life forms." Karen was starting to understand. "And humans live there normally. Not just live there. We thrive there. We've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, and diseases that should have wiped us out. From an alien perspective, we're survival machines." On the space station Harmony, Supreme Chancellor Quinthala was meeting with her War Council. The Galactic Collective had gathered their combined fleets and were preparing for what they thought would be humanity's first strike. "Our intelligence reports confirm it," Admiral Kethmore said. "The humans have superior technology, advanced military training, and detailed psychological profiles of all our species." "How long before they attack?" asked Chancellor Quinthala. "Unknown. They're still pretending to be peaceful, but their capabilities speak for themselves." At that moment, an urgent message arrived from Earth. President Phillips was requesting an emergency meeting. "This could be their ultimatum," Admiral Kethmore said grimly. "Or their surrender demand," added another officer. Chancellor Quinthala made a decision. "We'll meet with them, but we'll be ready for anything." Back on Earth, President Phillips was preparing for the most important speech of her life. Dr. Parker had helped her understand what humans looked like from an alien perspective, and it was terrifying. "The key," Steve explained, "is to help them understand that we're not trying to be threatening. We just evolved on a world that made us this way." 2 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on the neutral station Harmony. The main meeting room was filled with hundreds of alien delegates, all looking nervous and scared. President Phillips walked in with Ambassador Cooper and Dr. Parker. The room became completely silent. "Thank you all for coming," Karen began. "I understand there have been some misunderstandings about humanity's intentions." Chancellor Quinthala stood up. "Misunderstandings? Your species has demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most advanced civilizations." "That's exactly what we need to talk about," Karen replied calmly. "Dr. Parker, would you explain?" Steve stepped forward and activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about human evolution. About 4.5 billion years ago, Earth formed. For most of that time, it was a nightmare world of volcanic activity, asteroid impacts, and poisonous atmospheres. The display showed Earth's violent, early history. Life on Earth had to be incredibly tough just to survive. Every creature that lived had to adapt to constant danger, environmental changes, and competition with other species. Steve showed images of Earth's prehistoric creatures, giant predators, massive disasters, and harsh environments. Humans evolved in this environment. We developed our abilities not because we wanted to be warriors, but because anything less meant death." Chancellor Quinthala interrupted. "You're saying your capabilities are natural?" "Completely natural," Steve replied. "Our endurance, our problem-solving skills, our ability to work together under pressure. These aren't military advantages we developed. They're survival traits we needed just to live on Earth. The aliens looked confused. But your technology improvements, your military precision, are the same skills we use for everything, President Phillips explained. When humans see a problem, we try to fix it. When we need to work together, we coordinate our efforts. When we face challenges, we adapt and overcome them. Ambassador Cooper stood up. The truth is, we had no idea we were scaring anyone. To us, everything we've shown you is completely normal. Dr. Parker continued his presentation. Let me give you some examples. Humans think a pleasant day is 75 degrees with light wind. Most aliens consider that a severe weather event. He showed comparative data. What we call staying in shape requires physical abilities that exceed most aliens' maximum capabilities. Our children's games teach skills that other species use for military training, but we do it for fun. The alien delegates were starting to understand, but they still looked worried. What about your weapons technology? Asked Admiral Kethmore. You developed planet-destroying capabilities. President Phillips nodded seriously. Yes, we did, during a period of conflict on our world, but we also chose not to use them and made agreements to prevent their use. You developed ultimate weapons and then chose restraint? Chancellor Quinthala asked in amazement. That's what humans do, Karen replied. We learn from our mistakes. We adapt. We find better ways to solve problems, Dr. Parker added. The same survival instincts that made us tough also made us cooperative. Humans who worked together survived better than humans who fought alone. Danny Cooper stepped forward. The bottom line is this. Humans aren't trying to be threatening. We're just being ourselves. And ourselves happens to be a species that survived 4 billion years on the galaxy's most dangerous planet. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Chancellor Quinthala spoke. So, you're telling us that everything we've observed, your physical capabilities, your technological innovations, your problem-solving skills, your coordination, all of this is just normal human behavior? Exactly, President Phillips confirmed. We're not hiding our true nature or pretending to be peaceful. This is who we really are. But you could be dangerous if you wanted to be, Admiral Kethmore said carefully. Karen thought about this. I suppose we could, but we don't want to be. Humans prefer cooperation to conflict. We've learned that we accomplish more by working together, Steve added. Besides, humans are naturally curious. We're more interested in exploring the galaxy and learning about other species than conquering them. The alien delegates talked among themselves for several minutes. Finally, Chancellor Quinthala addressed the humans again. This is difficult for us to understand. Your species possesses capabilities that could dominate the galaxy, but you choose to use them for peaceful purposes? That's right, President, Phillips said. We want to be friends and partners, not conquerors. Ambassador Cooper smiled. We'd rather share our abilities to help everyone than use them to hurt anyone. After hours of discussion, the Galactic Collective reached a decision. They would accept humanity as members, but with special protocols for interaction. We're creating a new classification, Chancellor Quinthala announced. Class X Deathworlders, species whose capabilities far exceed their understanding of those capabilities. What does that mean for us? Danny asked. It means we'll work with you, but carefully. We'll learn from you, but slowly. And we'll always remember that you're the species that survived the unsurvivable and still chose to be kind. President Phillips smiled. That sounds fair to everyone. As the meeting ended, aliens and humans began talking more casually. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with curiosity and respect. One alien child approached Dr. Parker and asked, Is it true that human children play games where they chase each other? Steve laughed. Yes, it's called tag. Would you like to learn how to play? The alien child's parent quickly pulled them away, but they were smiling. Outside the meeting room, alien delegates discussed what they had learned. They really don't understand how extraordinary they are, one said to another. Perhaps that's what makes them extraordinary, came the reply. On Earth, President Phillips addressed the world about humanity's new status in the galactic community. "We've been accepted as the galaxy's first Class X Deathworlders," she announced. "Apparently that means we're tough, smart, and adaptable. But most importantly, it means we chose to use those traits to help others instead of hurt them. The galaxy has learned to live with humanity," she continued. "And we've learned that what seems normal to us might seem amazing to others. But that's okay. We'll just keep being ourselves." In the months that followed, human innovations quietly revolutionized galactic technology. Human medical knowledge saved millions of alien lives. Human culture became popular across the galaxy, though